Hello, this is the Professor 627 show, and this week my special guest star is Hansa. Hansa, how you doing?
Greetings, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm cool, man. Cool, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very
So,
much.
what's the subject of discussion this week?
Well, immigration.
Okay.
Because immigration, because it's a hot one, as we know. But interestingly, they're bringing a couple more people in. They're opening the doors wider, quite simply. It's the Bulgarians and they're bringing in the Bulgarians.
Right.
Who are the other guys?
Romania.
That's right, the Bulgarians and the Romanians. So the doors are open wider. But what's going to happen once again is they're going to be targets. They're going to be seen as a problem. You know, the same old historical stuff. More scroungers coming in. They're teasing our money. They're taking our jobs. They're using the NHS service, and we're already strained and overstrained. We don't need any more. But that's not the issue. The issue is the government's allowing them in.
Well, that's what I'm saying now. Why the government bring them in, and they know it's going to cause a problem? It's definitely going to cause a problem because there ain't enough to go around. So why they going to bring in a million more? Maybe the government won't problem. Maybe the government won't civil unrest. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is what they want. They want divide and rule. They want to cause some problems. They want people to fight each other so that the heat is taken off them. This is what always happens. But why is it? Why do we never start at what I believe to be a correct starting point? Which is why the government doing this. That's never the subject. Nobody really shouts and screams and says, why the government doing this again? Not really. Of course they say, why the government doing this? But then the blame from there, that's about as far as it goes. They say the government are letting more people in. But then that's where it stops as far as the government is concerned. Then the people, whoever it is that they're letting in, become the target immediately. They're seen as scroungers and wanting to come to this country because this country's a soft touch. That's not the issue. We should stay on what the real issue is. Why the government letting them in? It's the government letting them in. And in a nutshell, the reason why, quite apart from, divide and rule, they're letting them in because there's money to be made. So the problem is the government, and that's where we should see it. The problem is the government. The problem is not the Poles, who they've been complaining about forever, or the Hungarians, or the Romanians, or the Bulgarians. The problem is the government. Whichever government are in, they're letting them in because there's money to be made. And we miss the issue when we fight amongst each other. You mean? They set us up for a fall and before and argue amongst ourselves, and they make the money. But the worst bit is that they cause the problem and pretend to be setting about trying to find a solution when they caused the problem in the first place. It's akin to me starting a fire and then calling everybody's attention to the fire, and even myself running and going and getting a fire extinguisher when I was the one that flung the bomb in the first place with the matches. This is what the government do. They fling the bomb or start the fire, and then they set about solving the problem when they created the problem in the first place. So what I'm saying is, but more importantly than that, this country has a history of immigration. Immigration made this country. And we must remember, more importantly, the British Empire stole from everywhere on God's green earth. So now it's quite simply barefaced and shameless of them to take this attitude that those who are, people, certain, people of the population who say that they're coming over here to steal our stuff. What stuff? This country's been made by different groups of people. There's nowhere on the planet. You look at somewhere like America, and nobody's American in that native sense. Everybody's Italian American, African American, Hispanic American. That's what the country, that's what the world is. We have a history. The whole world is the history of immigration and migration. People go and come and come and go. That's what happens. You look at someone like Australia. People who are in Australia now, that's not who were there 300, 400, 500 years ago. This is what happens. So it's quite simply barefaced of them to say this country's been made by immigration. And then what's also not mentioned is that the financial contribution that's been made to this country. Look, they have everything. They have different cuisines from all these different countries that are here. People contribute because they work and add to the economy. They bring color to the economy. They bring style to the economy. They bring life to the economy. But this country has been everywhere and ruled everywhere. So basically, what they've done in the past is coming back in their own backyard, if you want. If they want to see it that way. If they're seeing this as people are coming into this country, that isn't the way. But if you wish to view it that way, that people are coming to this country and taking what's yours, well, what's here has been stolen. Quite simply, it's theft. There's nothing here. You look at the British Empire. There's nothing British in the empire. Everything's stolen. So that's what makes any country. America, this country, Canada, people move about. That's what happens. And it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop because the government are not going to stop it. Why? Because there's money to be made. So we're going to be down here on the ground running around fighting each other, which is what they want, and nothing's going to change. And they'll pretend that they want to stop it. They'll say we're trying to control it, but they're really not trying to do nothing. We're trying to control it, we're trying to curb it, because they know that there's something here. Money for the government. But the more important point is that's what's made this country immigration. Think about what would happen on a practical term if they were not, they wouldn't have the foods they have, they wouldn't have the colours they have, they wouldn't have the culture they have, they wouldn't have that liveliness they have, certain forms of music, food, dance, certain ways of thinking, art, poetry. You wouldn't have any of this. So it's very stupid of somebody to say, want to get back to a point where this country was what they call just English. There would be nothing here. I'm not being funny, there would literally be nothing here. The place would be grey and dull and old, which is what it was before. My mum came in the 50s and it was pretty dull then. She looked at the houses and the houses looked to her like what they call in Jamaica factories. They were lifeless and colourless, and so lots of people contributed to this country with everything, with the things that we now enjoy. So you need to think very carefully when you're so stupid to say, this country should go back to what it used to be for the English. What did that consist of? There was nothing here which they now enjoy. Nothing at all. But we should see the issue for what it is. That's ignorant, but it's really the people's fault, because if at this point you can't see that the government are using and applying divide and rule tactics, then it's really our fault. The government's always going to be the government, but we have to see it for what it is. But we have to look at the benefits as well. This country's benefiting. People are coming over here and doing the jobs that we don't want. Nobody's taking your job. The Poles are not taking your jobs. They've got the jobs that you and I don't want. As much as we may want money. Sweeping, cleaning the toilet, sweeping under the underground, sweeping the streets. Those are the jobs they've got. For not even what they call the minimum wage. Now you have to ask yourself the question, I have to ask myself the question, do I want that job? And if I don't want that job, then they haven't taken my job. If it's not a job that I would want, then they haven't taken my job. So it's a lie. The government's the problem. Not the immigrants, not the Poles, not the Romanians, not the Bulgarians. The government. Causing more problems.
Okay, what I'm saying now, right? All this stuff now, this is our country. This is not your country, right? It should be your country because you was born here, and your grandparents was born here, whatever. But the truth is, Europe is not in zones. You can go to the internet to Google, and you can Google which zone the country is in. Now, London and the southeast of the UK now be in a zone with France and the rest of Europe, and now Bristol, Wales, that being a group that belongs to Canada, and this kind of group, and I think north of London, now that is in a group which belongs to Greenland and Scandinavia.
That's right.
So the United Kingdom, Europe, is already in zones, but it just has not been officially announced yet.
That's right.
So the people don't know that the end of sovereignty is already here. Soon there'll be nothing called the United Kingdom.
That's right.
Or England.
That's right.
We're already in zones, so the people don't know. So the whole purpose of the so-called government bringing immigrants here, Romanians and Bulgarians, is they're letting you know that Europe now is just for everybody to move which way they want to go in. And I think what they're trying to do is encourage British-born people, so-called English people, British people to move. They want us to move. They're saying, well, if a Bulgarian and a Romanian can come here for work, why don't you go to Romania and look for a job? So basically, they're forcing us out of what you call your own country.
That's right.
But it ain't your country no more. The bank controls everything. It's the bank, it's the government, and the government is the bank. Under this globalization
You said the one thing, right?
Under this globalization thing, it's the end of sovereignty. That's what the euro was invented for. I believe the euro was invented in 1957, but only rolled out in the late 1990s or something. Yeah? 1957 the euro was invented, and the whole purpose of the euro being invented was the end of sovereignty. Yeah? It's just a global thing soon. And that's what the people in the UK got to wake up to soon. But they're so stupid planning for Christmas in January and February and March. It's so stupid. They don't know nothing. And so people are so dumb here. And they'll talk to their cat or their dog, but they won't talk to another human being. So they don't know nothing. And when it's too late, It'd just be too late. They don't know nothing. And then everyone's walking around in the trance. And then when they hear news flash on the TV, then you wake up out of your trance and you take you what information the government wants you to have. And as soon as the news flash sign goes from the TV, boom, you're back in the trance, watching EastEnders and Coronation Street and Emmerdale and football and Rooney scored a goal and X Factor and all this garbage.
That's right. So let me ask, is it the same? Are people as naive over where you're from? Are they that naive?
They're even worse.
In regards to government?
They're even worse. Everybody thinks the whole life is about football, wearing a football jersey, shouting for their team, shouting for their basketball team, shouting for their baseball team. They put this mentality into the people. So to blind you, and all your masculinity, all your aggression is now tied up into a basketball game, a football game, a hockey game, whatever. And nobody cares about politics till it's too late. That's why right now, the United States has been taken over. You know what I mean? They got foreign troops about to whatever, take over. United Nations troops, Chinese troops, Russian troops, whatever. Any minute now you can see them on the streets, man, telling U.S. citizens what to do.
So this is what I wanted to ask. Do you think it's that people are really ignorant of what's going on, or they just fall hoping with the kind of mentality, what can we do anyway? Is it really that they don't know what's going on? I don't really find, or is it that they just know and they think, in regards to the government, what can we do anyway?
The vast majority of people, you can't really do nothing anyway, because you're scared you'd be killed by a SWAT team, right? But people ain't interested. People's minds just be in shallow stuff.
Magazines that we talked about and celebrity gossip magazines, as you said.
No, this City Star, Hollywood, the music business, the Grammy Awards, whatever. That's it now, man.